Hello, and welcome to the Tight Curls Project podcast.
I'm very excited to have a guest today who is someone who's definitely a hair inspiration to me and just an inspiration in life. And I'm so excited to have her because you're going to get a lot from this conversation. She's so interesting in her work and how she carries herself. I know it will be a great conversation. So we have Chemtai Mungo, and she's the assistant professor of obstetrics and gynecology at University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill. And so we're so excited to have you here today, Chemtai.
Thanks, Shadia. Thank you for having me, and really awesome to be part of this show that I've kind of witnessed you kind of work at, put together over the last few months to maybe even years. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yes. So excited to bring you in this world because we haven't really talked that much about hair. So that's going to be fun.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Wonderful. So to get started, the first question we like to ask is, what are you loving right now? What is something that is just bringing you joy?
Oh, that's a good one. What's bringing me joy right now? I just turned 40, so
Woo!
I'm excited about this sort of next phase of life. And I'm really excited right now about self-care and exercise. I love the gym, and I've been doing a lot of like physical therapy to rehab some kind of injuries with the goal of really embracing sort of the athletic aspect of me in the second half. You know, I love like endurance sports and cycling. I'm looking forward to doing my first century, which is 100-mile cycling ride in the next 6 months. So just putting in the reps in the gym and seeing that kind of growth and getting stronger is something that I'm really excited about right now.
I love that. You are very inspirational. I will tell the story of how when we first met, you invited me on a hike. And I was like, oh, I like to hike, you know, thinking 3-4 miles. I looked up this hike. It was 11 miles. And I said, I'm not ready for that. So I'll work to get on that level, even though you're going up and to the right with your fitness. That's still, but I love that you're really just trying new things and growing as you know, get older, still getting stronger and really trying new things. So that's amazing. We'll talk a little bit about how your hair routine fits into that active lifestyle as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Big deal for us, for sure.
It is. Let's start with you as a little kid. So where did you grow up, and what did you think about hair when you're, you know, school aged? What were you hearing, and what did you think about your hair when you're a little kid?
Yeah. So I grew up in Kenya in East Africa, and I went to boarding school when I was young. The schooling system was sort of modeled after the British system, where people went to boarding school, and it was sort of a practical decision in a sense because people lived in small towns and the schools were in the city, and, you know, there was no school bus that would come to every little village to pick up kids. So I went to boarding school young, like 5th grade-ish, which is really fun.
Yeah.
So, you know, what did I think about hair? So let's see. One had to learn how to, being in boarding school, you didn't have all the time to like wake up and comb your hair and do whatever. So my hair was often plaited. So either in cornrows, and then later on in braids. But as a young kid, it was always like, what style can my hair be in that can last like 4-6 weeks of very low maintenance?
Yeah.
You know, like I didn't have the morning routine was not one that, you know, had time to do a lot. So, you know,
especially as a 5th grader, like how much hair can you do? You know, like one skill, 2 time, like that would be a lot to be coordinating.
So it was basically just like getting your hair braided or in cornrows. And I alternated between that. And then when I was a little younger, at some point, my mom decided that I would have like short hair and like, you know, I think you have a picture of me with basically really short hair.
Yes.
So
let's take a look at that picture. It is so cute. Oh my goodness. I just love this. Would love for you to share just where you were when that happened. Yeah. So this is little you, and you've got a dress on with a very cute sweater and your high socks. And maybe are those like loafers or moccasins? Oh,
they were what we would call moccasins for sure. I haven't heard that word in a long time.
Right? That's what they look like. And you're holding the hand of maybe, is that your brother?
Yes, that's my little brother who, yes, I know. So that was the two of us. This is circa probably 92 or something. And we were in Kapanguria, which is sort of my village home. And I think there was a party, and it was just dusk, and we were tired and I think somebody was like, "Come take a picture." And my brother was falling asleep. But yeah,
his eyes are closed. He's like, "Oh, okay."
He's like, "That's my bedtime." Yeah, I have short cropped hair here, and this is probably the time when my mom was like, "Okay, can't." My mom had 6 kids, so doing hair for 3 girls, it was a lot of work. I had short hair at this point.
You rocked it though. It looks so cute. Do you remember if you liked it, or did you care at that time? Or
it was easy. It was easy. I remember when my hair was first cut, I was a bit sad to kind of lose, the hair I had. But then once I got used to it, it was quite easy. And, I'm always I'm still very much for convenience, even as an adult, but even as a 7-year-old, that was the case. So it was easy.
Oh, and when you were in school, were you picking, who was braiding it? Would you go to a braider, or was it your family?
Yeah, we usually go to the salon before like the school starts, and then you would have breaks every like 4 to 6 weeks, and then so usually you would go to have somebody do it, and it's always I'm sure if you yourself ever got cornrows or have nieces and nephews, it's always like having to find the right person, because if they have to be really gentle with your hair, especially at the front. That was always a little it wasn't always fun if you didn't have like, the person with like the easiest hands.
Yeah, or be snatching too hard and a little rough. You're like, your head's going back.
And then you like have a headache at the end.
Yes.
It's so tight because there's this like tension between, balance between having them nice and neat, but then if they're too tight, also then it's like pulling at the scalp. So yeah, it wasn't always fun. That's like the process of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Were you picking the styles that you had for braids, or did you have any like imagination, or would you just go and they would give you something? Was that part of your self-expression by the time you got to like middle school?
Typical kind of British influence. They kill all creativity.
Standard issue braid style.
There was like a narrow range of creativity expression. So one had to wait till the holidays to express your creativity.
Okay.
Like something around like, how schools, there's a school of thought around maybe when people wear uniforms, it like levels out the playing field. So there was a similar school of thought around like hairstyles, like similar hairstyles, like levels out the playing field. So it was often a very like simple hairdo. And then, one would wait till the holidays, then you would like bust out your braids in different colors.
Okay.
The creativity out.
Were you doing that? Did you have the colors and special flair for holidays?
I definitely did. I always, it's funny because now my nieces and nephews will do like blues and greens, like really loud colors and fun colors. I was more like a gold, like a brown, like a mix of several, and then you'd have some really long braids, different holidays. It was definitely the holidays were a time to experiment with the hair, and especially with the braids, which were in at that time.
That's fun. I mean, because I feel like when I was in middle school and high school, I did not see a lot of people doing color. So I love that. You guys were ahead of the ball game and style innovation.
For sure.
That's great. So as you get older and you're just thinking about your hair, what were some of the thoughts that you had? Did you enjoy doing your hair? Was it still painful? Was it a big part of like your identity? Say maybe going in your teens to as you went to college?
So as I got older, I I wore braids a lot from kind of like my last year of high school into so in high school in Kenya, you couldn't wear braids. You had to wear your hair natural. You could kind of do some,
Really?
yeah. So you couldn't wear braids. And again, this is like these kind of very, um, you know, this British modeled boarding schools had a lot
Yeah.
of rules. So you had your hair natural and, but then after high school, I kind of just like lived in braids. I think in part because I was so used to having, it kind of like the pendulum swung because for a long time, I couldn't wear braids. And then I think the reality is having to take care of your hair and learning,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of us, especially then, like now, my nieces and nephews, there's YouTube, like hair
Yeah.
channels, etc., the podcasts about hair. Back then there wasn't, and it was always like harder than like, if you didn't have access to a salon where you would go and somebody would do it, it would be hardest to do it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
In parts like when, like in boarding school, you don't have the products, etc.
Mm-hmm.
So when I had kind of control,
Mm-hmm.
I kind of just gravitated towards braids in part because it was easy to do. And then
Can I ask a question? When you said in high school you couldn't have braids, does that mean extensions? You couldn't have added hair, or does it mean you could you braid your own hair and have cornrows or single braids?
yeah,
Okay.
so we couldn't have extensions. That's kind of what I meant by braids.
Okay.
And then in high school, for whatever reason, also we couldn't do like cornrows. Like we could only like have our hair in a bun,
Okay.
or just some element of like naturals, like, combed out style. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, interesting. Did you have relaxers? Was that popular?
It was actually, my hair was relaxed starting probably around high school. So
Okay.
I would have it relaxed the beginning of the semester. And then I would kind of, some of it will grow,
Mm-hmm.
growth would come in, and it would just kind of keep some element of like a natural hairstyle.
Mm-hmm.
For example, I used to swim, like not super competitively, but it was just
Yeah.
something I enjoyed. So then, of course, like once you swim, your relaxed hair is gone, and you're like, it's like, how to manage your afro. There was always, it's like learning how to take care of your hair, in like without a lot of like professional expertise.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like in an ideal world, I would like go to the salon on the weekend and get it like deep moisturized, but like boarding school,
You didn't have all that. Yeah. But you still swam, so you found a way to do it.
Yeah, I found a way to do it, and just like I was just comfortable with it being like
Free.
Free, exactly, which is came full circle. That's where I am now.
I love it. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then, after in college, I had braids for a while. And in a sense, it was easier with exercise because I didn't wash it a lot often. And then at some point in college, I then flipped and just embraced kind of the natural hair. I think there was definitely some elements of, kind of societal messages around like what is good hair. And as part of my coming to be in college, it was like, oh, I'm going to embrace my hair in its natural state. So I did dreadlocks for a bit. I couldn't find a picture for that.
Okay.
And then I eventually was like, oh, I'm going to do an afro. And so when I began med school, I had an afro, which is what I've kept until now.
I love that. So I want to ask you, you went to college in the US, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Do you think that you would have gone the same route if you were in Kenya? Do you feel like your family and your friends in Kenya were experiencing the same kind of thoughts about, what is good hair that you were experiencing in the US?
Yeah, it's a good question. Definitely the pressure, the societal messaging is more intense in the US around kind of, you know, the what is normal, quote unquote, and 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 kind of, you know, the the default to whiteness and long hair, etc., like silky hair is it's stronger in the US. Unfortunately,
Okay.
those messages, you know, permeate around the world. But you know, in the US, you are more obviously a minority in a way that you're not growing up in Africa. So it's a bit it's more prevalent, and so then the interesting thing then is that sort of evolution of my thinking around my hair made me more quote unquote radical because towards the end of college I was like, oh, I'm going to embrace my hair as part of just like embracing who I am, and I'm going to keep it natural in a way that when I'd be back in Kenya and people are like, why haven't you made your hair?
Okay. Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah,
So it was seen as a statement in Kenya also.
exactly. So then it was like, yeah, because I think I was exposed to this idea that, oh, you know, I like your hair has to be straight to be, it's, you know, ridiculous. And as part of my rejecting that, I rejected it in a way that it was more radical, even even for Kenya.
Yeah, that's fascinating. And
Yeah.
what do you think spurred that on? Was that what you're reading? Was it people you're seeing with wearing natural hair out? Like, what do you think took that? Because a lot of people both recognize, you know, the historical ties to straight hair and that, but you know, to say I'm going to do something totally different where not people are doing that. You know, it's a different leap. So I'm just curious what kind of spurred you on and gave you that confidence and like that aspiration. Like did you have things that were aspirational for you?
So it's good. So I went to UC Berkeley. I went to Berkeley for undergrad, and you know, very liberal place, very progressive. I was a science major. There was not that. I was actually chemistry major in undergrad. There wasn't that many Black women in like chemistry classes. So I think over time, about 3 or 4 years of being in college, I realized and came to embrace my differences. I always stood out either in my chemistry classes or, you know, in sort of like, you know, math classes or even being pre-med, just being, you know, Black at Berkeley. There's just not that many of us. And I think part of it was realizing that, you know, this attempt at fitting in, it can never be enough.
Yeah, you're still like, Black lady.
You like contort yourself this way and contort yourself that way. And it's silly. And then why would you give your power away? And then, you know, there's always, you know, if people want to see you differently, there will always find something.
Yeah.
So that's, I think that's just realization over walking in different spaces where I was an only or I was different. Kind of endeared this idea that like, hey, I'm going to embrace my differences, basically, because I think maybe I flirted a bit with trying to fit in and just realized, oh, I'm losing that. And also,
that's really interesting. I love that.
Yeah.
I'm going to pull up some of those pictures. I feel like even then you're still playing with color.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I see that like that self-expression. Even with the braids, you know. Let's talk about this. Is this you in college?
Yeah, that's me
with your friends.
Yeah, that's in college with friends. Yeah, so I had a lot. So I rocked a lot of like blonde braids or kind of gold braids for a while, and that was a signature look of mine. I wore a lot.
So I'll just describe. They're kind of small, like past your chin length, so a lob length of braids. And they're like a golden, I would say, amber color.
Yeah. Yeah, that's probably me like freshman or sophomore year with, you know, bright-eyed.
You're so cute. Yes. Like I'm here in college. Those are some silky ones. I don't know if those are called French braids, maybe, with the ends like this.
Yeah.
And that was a bob. Very cute. Yeah. And then you transitioned, and this picture next with you with your fro and
Yeah.
your doctor's coat, your stethoscope.
Yeah, that was my first week in medical school. So the
Wow.
transition had happened. So that was me and my fro forever after.
Wow. Okay. That's great. It really is your signature,
Yeah,
and it's so distinct. It looks so great.
thank you.
I just like how you do it. And sometimes you'll style it in points. Sometimes it'll be more round shaped, and the colors. So you've played with color. You've continued to play with color. Is that
I
something you
definitely
enjoy?
continue to play the color. Yes, I'll do highlights every couple of months, usually with some elements of like gold or brown. And then, yeah, sometimes I'll kind of braid it and then open it in the morning. So it kind of it's a bit wavy, but,
Mm-hmm.
for really like the last, yeah, maybe 15 years, this has
Yes.
been basically my hairdo, and I love it.
Oh, I love it too for you. It's great. So tell us, just how long does it take you to do your hair, and was it a process to figure out the products to use, and were you on your own doing this? How did you figure out what worked for you?
Yeah. I will confess that I am definitely the least savvy, one of the less hair savvy people. So one time when I come to visit your house, I have to look at all your hair stuff. But, products I use are a combination of kind of the place I've gone to get my hair done and the recommendations, and then some friends. My routine is pretty easy. I basically use a moisturizer in the morning, and then I'll wash about once a week and kind of do a deep moisturizer.
Mhm.
I have, I think most recently I've tried the new hairline that Beyonce has,
Oh.
which smells good. I like
Mhm.
it. Yeah, and then I have this other product whose name skips my head right now, but I moisturize every morning. And then once a week, I'll do kind of the deep wash conditioning. And then, I use a really awesome hair butter
Mm.
called Dr. O's hair butter.
Oh, okay. Never
It's
heard
a
of it.
Black woman scientist. She's a PhD. I met her at a fair, and she's like makes this organic, really awesome like oils for the skin, the scalp.
Okay.
That I really like. So that I think is my main thing, as well as some moisturizers.
And when do you put it on your scalp? Like after you shower, or I mean, after you wash your hair, or?
I wash it.
Uh-huh.
I'll kind of like scalp my hair,
Mm-hmm.
oil my scalp,
Yeah.
and then maybe once midweek, just like
Okay.
moisturize.
That's great. So
Yeah.
it doesn't take you very long then, is what I'm getting. Do you blow dry your hair? Do you dry your hair or you just let it air dry? What do you do?
So yeah, when I wash it, I'll detangle it using a detangling cream, and then I don't blow dry it.
Okay.
And then I'll just like kind of detangle, comb it through, and keep it in the afro. So not very long, which
Mm-hmm.
also fits with the time I have.
Yes. Yes. Let's talk about it. So you started med school. You were in some very intense programs. You worked really hard. So it seems like you had your hair figured out before you got into this very intense program. What was that experience like for you? And having time to take care of your hair.
For sure. So, I was in med school for 4 years, and then did a residency training in obstetrics and gynecology for another 4 years, where you're working 80 hours a week. So you just didn't have
80? What?
Yeah, 80. A
Oh
minimum.
gosh.
And that's, sometimes you like go a little bit over. So you just didn't have a lot of time to, it was kind of a necessity that you have
Mm-hmm.
a simplified hair routine, which is why, many people in residency will also do braids.
Okay. I was going to ask you what other Black women were doing.
Other Black women did braids that I knew of. And then, so for me, it was like just like a simple afro, like once a week wash, condition in the morning, like doesn't take more than really like 5 or 7 minutes every morning. Cause when you're waking up, when you have to be in the hospital at 4:30 or 5 in the morning, and you're sleeping at 9, every 5 minutes counts.
You're right.
That's time to sleep. Yeah. So, yeah. So, like medical training is really rigorous and takes a long time. So, when I came out on the other side about, I finished residency in 2018. And then,
On the other side, sorry. It's so funny.
Oh my God, it's a dark tunnel. It's really fun. I mean, you learn to become a surgeon. It's excellent. But it's rigorous. You don't have a lot of time for anything else. So then, yeah, like in the last 4 or 5 years, I'm kind of have more time to like have, like a hair day, go and just like have, a deep wash and have somebody do like a 2-hour thing. In part, also you have the time and the money. But it was important to have a practical aspect of managing one's hair during that training.
Yeah. I'm just thinking, even if you had braids, you still would have to be able to schedule a braid appointment and have 6-8 hours, because you still got to wash and detangle your hair and blow dry it before you go get braids.
Yeah. Which is why also braids were, because, you basically have one whole weekend off maybe every 6 weeks.
Okay.
So yeah. So, when you do braids, it's like a whole day of hair.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So you gotta choose carefully how you spend your whole day
your
off.
free day. Yeah. That's
Exactly.
okay.
Yeah. It's intense. It's like medical training is intense. So like being practical was key for all of us.
Yeah. And I think it's pretty amazing that you have figured that out and it works for that kind of lifestyle, but also for all your activity with the sports and cycling. So you're really someone who has figured out your hair to fit your life. How do you think about your hair now? And if you think about, that part of your identity, that part of your body, your wellness and your care, how do you think about your hair?
Yeah, definitely. It's really important for me that it fits into my life. So I basically exercise 7 days a week. I cycle and I'm like sweaty 3 days a week. I love to go out and hike and be outside. So just hair that's very practical is key. I've always been like a trailblazer, and I embrace being different and not being kind of, not fitting, into kind of the norm. So certainly, as a Black woman in medicine and as a professor, as a scientist, my hair stands out because, most people in scientific conferences don't look like me, don't have hair like me. And, it's important for me that it's part of my identity. There is definitely, and I, respect everybody's decisions of how they kind of keep their hair. Like there's definitely, can be some maybe pressures to conform. It's like, oh, you already stand out already. Don't let your hair stand out too much. But for me, I think it's part of being unapologetic in who I am. And just, it feels good to present my whole self, and just have people kind of adjust.
That is beautiful. You said unapologetic for who you are, and have people adjust instead of us adjusting or you adjusting.
Absolutely.
That's amazing. Do you get a lot of comments or feedback on your hair from different folks, good or bad? I'm just curious.
Yeah, certainly. I definitely do. Like, folks will be like, "Oh, great hair. How do you do your hair?" etc. I think a couple of years. It's been a while, thankfully, since somebody was like, "Can I touch your hair?" Which is like,
yes.
like, no, you can't. No. But yeah, I love it. And I think when I was younger, I didn't appreciate, as many of us, when you're younger, you're more prone to being swayed by opinions. So when I was younger, I didn't, wasn't always comfortable in my skin, or just like how my hair looked, the hair skin, to speak. So now it's just great to be able to like be the adult version of me who just like loves it. And just lets other people adjust.
That makes my heart so happy. I just love that, because that is not the norm. You are a trailblazer in multiple ways. Yeah. So that's something I wanted to talk to you about, because I'm like, your hair is very distinct. It's beautiful. But I just imagine that there are people, I have people who have said in places where I've also worked in a lot of primarily white places, where people would say stuff to me about hair. So I imagine you've had those encounters, and there can feel like this pressure. I've had that, like, oh, maybe you should change your hair for your interview, change it for this. And I'm not saying that everybody has the privilege to be in a place where they don't have to think about that. But, that's amazing that you have been thoughtful and it works for you. You're working your life around it. And it is political, right? Because just think of all that time if you're trying to schedule your relaxers, or if you're trying to schedule someone else to do your hair and you can't cycle.
Exactly.
For me, my hair won't fit in a helmet, so that's a problem.
Yeah.
This hair won't fit in a helmet because I already have a big head. So
we should design helmets for people with, afro.
That's the solution. You're right. You're right.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that is also, that's a good point.
Hair, which is why, I love what you're doing and really respect it. And, my work as a scientist is to improve the lives of women through cancer prevention, but it's really all about equity and making sure that people have equal opportunity at a wholesome life in all different ways. But I also admire what you do, because you are centering Black hair should have the highest quality of evidence and thought behind it, and products and etc., in ways that it's always often an afterthought. At least, and even for most people, when you're looking for products, you have to work harder to find products that fit one's hair. And it is definitely political, and for me, it's a quality of life where, if I didn't have cycling and being at the gym often, my quality of life would be impeded. So my hair needs to fit into my quality of life, and that should be accessible to everybody.
I agree. Thank you. Yeah. So do you want to talk a little bit about the work that you do? You said you work with women.
Yeah. So I'm a gynecologist and I'm a researcher. So I deliver babies and take care of women. I love kiddos, and, I wish they didn't come between the hours of midnight and 5 a.m.
Oh.
When they have to come at 3 a.m, that's
you love them a little more when they come, after 8
p.m. or 8 or 9 p.m. or earlier.
Yeah.
And then more importantly, I do research on cervical cancer prevention. So improving how we prevent cervical cancer through HPV vaccination, and how we treat women with early signs of cancer, specifically in geographies that have low resources, both in rural North Carolina, rural parts of the U.S. For example, when you look at the map of the U.S., Black women, Latina women, more likely to get this very preventable disease, die from it. Women in rural settings more likely than those in urban areas. And then you look at the global map, women who live in low resource settings, 9 times more likely to die from cervical cancer, even though it's very preventable. It's actually one of the cancers that we know. We know what causes it, which is HPV, hence the vaccination, and then we know how to screen for it.
Wow.
So my research team works on improving how we screen and prevent cancer in marginalized women around the world. And, it's just about kind of equity, and everybody should be able to have the highest quality of life in all aspects, and in this case, in health.
That's amazing. That's really amazing that you get to do that work, and just the preventable nature of the disease. Absolutely. And really bringing that access can make such a big impact.
Absolutely. And it's a disease of poverty and of inequality, both, in the US in high income settings and in low income settings. And you see, it's such an undignified way to suffer and die from, you get this tumor that causes abnormal bleeding. It can cause fistula and a lot of pain, and it's all very preventable. and
wow.
So it's the urgency, there's different cancers that we just don't fully understand. So for example, pancreatic cancer that killed Steve Jobs, Like he had all the money in the world, but we just don't understand it. But cervical cancer is one of those that we really have the science. So I think I see my work as closing the gap between what we know and what we do, and especially for marginalized people.
That's so important. That's so important. And, it must be so exciting to see that those things come to reality when you're really bringing more access and knowledge around something that could today change people's lives. We always want to hope and, do more research to get to a place of understanding these other diseases. But today we know how to prevent this. So
exactly. Yep. We have the tools already. We just need to people who need them the most.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do some of the people you work with, I know you have teams, so it's not just you. I think also them people seeing that you're the brains behind the operation, that must be really encouraging that they could connect with you, because we know that there can be a lot of distrust or not understanding, is this really good for me? Is this really necessary?
Yeah, absolutely. And, that speaks to, what we call like concordance in care between physicians, scientists, and the people who get the care. So, as an African woman, when I lead clinical trials in East Africa and see patients, I speak Swahili and will, speak the local language. It makes a huge difference when, you have somebody from the community introducing a study versus if you have a foreigner. Same thing here too, which is why, like in the United States, we need more physicians of color. Because, minority communities in the U.S. are not represented in clinical trials and in research, part because of the history, right? You always had experimentation and you didn't have people who look like us leading and asking the questions and working with the community. So, I lead a research team of about 12 people. And, I think, being my lived experience of being an African woman, is central to even the questions that I ask. I think people from those communities to kind of think about the solutions, and that's why you can't close gaps in care, in outcomes, when you don't have people from that community being part of the solution.
Absolutely. That's amazing. And I hope some future doctors or those in training can hear this and be inspired, because this is really, every time you talk about it, it just makes me so excited to see what's going to come of this and the impact and difference you're making with all your training, and that you chose to do this and give back and connect and use who you are to really to make a difference, because you're bringing your whole self. And that is pivotal. It's not something that is like, it's okay. It's actually empowers you to do your job to the best of your ability for serving these communities. Yeah. So that's really amazing.
Absolutely. It's definitely what I consider my life's work, and, it's such an honor to do it.
Wonderful. Yay. Well, can people connect with you? Would you like people to be able to reach out to you? Where can they find you?
Yes. So I am on basically all the socials. On X, I'm on Blue Sky, I'm on LinkedIn. My first name and last name all in one, Chemtai Mungo. Reach out if you want to hear more about my work. I'm on the UNC website, and I, speak around the world, and reach out. Happy to talk more.
I love how you just casually threw it, because yes, you're speaking around the world, winning awards. I love it.
Yes, I'm going to be in South Africa next week for a talk. So if you're in Durban, South Africa, come say hi.
Come say hello. Just pop in. Well, this is so wonderful. We just thank you so much for being on the podcast. We being me, Shadia. And thank you for doing the work you're doing. Is there anything else you want to share with the audience before we head out?
Thank you for having me. Thank you for doing the work that you're doing. And thank you for kind of elevating, what should be the experience of Black women's hair, and kind of centering it and centering science. And I love it. I look forward to hearing more about what you do.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Chemtai. So we're going to say goodbye, but connect with us online. You can find links below. We love for you to follow our podcast, so please subscribe. Till next time. Bye.
Bye.